In his article, Prophets, Initiation, and the Egyptian Temple, Dr. Gee in the JSSEA for 2004, Volume 31, he discusses the idea of the Edfu and the Dendera rituals being streamlined versions of the rituals at the Temple of Karnak and Abydos. He says the Karnak ritual, as the only complete ritual with an unambiguous order, rewards close study. He discusses the significance of the idea of being a prophet and being a priest, and why there's a difference in those two, and what that difference is and means. The main theme is the connection with the ritual of the temple. The main theme of the Egyptian materials is recognizing the significance of the rituals in the temple, and they are using the Egyptian literatures of the Book of the Dead as well as the various types of initiations that is discussed in the religion. This is not about the dead people. It is about the customs of the temples and the rituals in the temples. Dr. Gee in his article further notes that the initiate in the Karnak ritual, during the ritual of taking the incense burner, the officiant says, "I am a priest and I am pure." And later on in the liturgy, during the ritual of undoing the white cloth, the officiant then says, "I am a prophet. It is the king who has commanded me to see the God." The king has commanded him to see the God. This is part of the point. This is part of the issue of the ritual. It's going out to the throne. The ritual of going out to the throne, of seeing the God, of taking incense to the temple. He says, "I am a prophet, the son of a prophet, in this temple." So the theme here is I am a prophet who comes to perform the rituals in the temple. I do not come to perform the exaltation of Amun-Re, the Lord of the thrones of the two lands on his great throne, and the exaltation of the great Ennead on their thrones. Both the priest and the prophet are grades of priest, but they have various rights and duties, and of course these have been inadequately explored, and Dr. Gee, for one, tries to explore these issues. And it's very fascinating how they have to do with the attendance in the temple, with the liturgy, of course, and the sanctuary being the domain of the prophet. Now this is fascinating, because the statements, "I am a priest and I am a prophet," "I am a prophet, the son of a prophet from this temple," identify the position of the individual and his authority to act in a particular ritual. But it's for the living. A number of other statements of authority occur in the temple liturgy. One is, "I am the living servant of Re," in the ritual of taking the incense burner. Another one says, "I am Horus, who is over heaven." So he's identifying himself with the various gods in the temple as they perform their liturgies. "I am the beautiful one of dread, the Lord of awe, great of dread, lofty of feathers, chief of Abydos," in the ritual of crossing to the holy place. One of their themes is to cross to the holy place. "I am an initiate of the gods," he says, in the ritual of breaking the seal. He says, "I am the effective living soul who is in Heracleopolis, who gives offerings and who subdues evil," in the ritual labeled another, meaning another ritual, of kissing the ground with the face down. Another Egyptian statement says, "I am Thoth, the protector of your bones," in the ritual of entering the temple. In some of the statements of authority, the officiant states his earthly offices that allows him to perform the ritual. And in doing so, he takes on the attributes of his God as well as his person, thus becoming that God's literal representative in the ritual. The theme is becoming like the gods to perform the rituals of the temple in order for them to be able to see the gods. That is the theme in the temples. The fact that the daily temple liturgy discusses how the officiant is an initiate of the gods before mentioning the position as prophet is significant because it separates the priest from the prophet. One of the purposes of the temple initiation, he says on page 100 of his study in the JSSEA, is for the initiate to see the God. That is one of the points of the ritual and the temple initiation, is seeing the forms of the God, because, and this occurs daily, and there are several texts from the temple walls themselves, and in one of these texts we read something extremely interesting. It's at the entrance of the hypostyle hall in Medinet Habu. And he says in this text, in this particular text, "Let me initiate you and announce you into the horizon so that you may see the Lord of the gods." On the opposite side of the wall, inside the hypostyle hall, Horus Kentike tells the king, "Let me initiate you into the great temple of your father Ammon, Lord of the gods." In all cases, the king faces inward toward the door, and the gods face outwards from the door. So these scenes and inscriptions suggest that the initiate was required for admission into the hypostyle hall, and the point of all of that is to see the gods. And this is much of the ancient Egyptian literature themes and ideas. This is the philosophy behind the ancient Egyptian literature. So instead of being a funerary literature, we now see that the Egyptian literature, one purpose of the initiation into literature, was to see the God. The standard initiation sequence, as illustrated by the temples, explain on the exterior of the bark shrine at Karnak in washing. And what they do is they establish the regalia or insignia, and finally the induction into the presence of the god in his shrine. These steps also appear in the Book of the Dead, chapter 125, where after the first declaration of innocence, the deceased discusses his purity. And he says, "I am pure." This same phrase appears after the authority declaration of the priest in the daily temple liturgy. This is maybe what a lot of the Egyptian literature is actually all about after all. It has nothing to do with the dead.
Well, I'm walking along the Snake River, where there's the high sea hills. Walking along trying to find a good spot to set up my camera. It's really high brush here, as you can see. I was hoping to see some moose or something. Don't see any right now. Let's set up this camera and get teaching you some more about the Egyptians. Some fascinating materials on the Egyptians to share with you.